You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. It's Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. There are latest things that makes official. Welcome to 16 years. 27 episodes of the Chris Voss Show, bringing you the most amazing minds, the most amazing people, and then there's just some idiot with a mic and a host that shows up as well. Today we have an amazing young lady on the show, and I think her topic of her book is definitely on point for some of the things we're having in our world and some of the things going on the streets and danger and stuff like that and how to stay safe. But we're going to get into it with her in a second. In the meantime, we must guilt you, shame you, and try to motivate you to harass your family, friends, and relatives into your 5-person downline you need to have to listen to the Chris Voss Show. Nah, it's not an MLM. We're just kidding. But please, for the love of God, we're begging. Don't make us beg. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Facebook.com/Chris Voss, and all those crazy places in it. She has the latest book that's coming out February 3rd, 2026. We're already in February. I'm still in January of last year. What's going on? Her book is entitled Street Smarts. Trust your instincts, outsmart danger, and stay safe in a world that isn't, by Dannah Eve. She'll be on the show with us today talking about her interests and all the stuff she developed in researching the book. She is a trusted safety expert and digital creator known for her sharp instincts, real-world expertise, and engaging content that empowers women to navigate life with confidence. As a former D1 athlete and summa cum laude graduate in criminology and psychology, she combines academic knowledge with street smarts to deliver life-saving insights to a rapidly growing audience of over 4 million followers across her social media accounts. Welcome to the show, Dannah. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming. We really appreciate it. Give us any .coms. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
You can find me at Dannah_Eve on all socials. So DANNAH, just _EVE, and DannahEve.com.
Thanks, Dannah. So please give us a 30,000 overview. What's inside your new book?
You know what? It is a crazy world that we live in. And I wrote this book to empower women to move through the world with confidence and empower their instincts. And I think it's honestly something that we all should read. Street smarts is a gift. And the more that you understand how to move through the world, the more powerful you will move through the world and the more confident you will as well.
There you go. Power and confidence. This is your book. Now, I mentioned in the bio, you help a lot of women. Is the book targeted towards men and women or just women?
It's really targeted towards women, but, I have had plenty of men read it, my dad being one of them. And, I also had a former law enforcement agent read it. And there's something in this book for everyone, which is something that I think is really special.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a really big guy, 6'2", and I'm kind of built like a football player, a fat football player. The audience is like, yeah, he is. And so I had an event last month where I was going down for a hernia surgery. I was bringing my mom from Utah so that she could do the thing there in Las Vegas. They just don't let you back on the streets. You got to be released to somebody. And so I was bringing her down, and we had our car jumped by just a random homeless guy, I don't know, who was at a gas station we stopped in. And he jumped in and was trying to start the car. And fortunately, I had come back out of the bathroom about that time because I was kind of concerned. And I had to deal with it. Situation. And fortunately, the cops have been watching him, and as soon as he saw me coming, he jumped out of the car and ran off. But I probably should give a better background on that story. I know how to look around and make people, because usually marks, or people are looking for marks that aren't paying attention, right? You probably know this. And so I'll usually give people an eye to let them know I made them. like all, and I remember giving him and I going, I see you there on the couch or on the bench there by the building, and I know I have your face now. I know you, and I give him that resting bitch face that I have, and that seems to work most times, but it didn't work this time. So yeah, danger can happen to anybody. I mean, he was willing to take me on. Um, and he was just a little guy too. That was the funny thing. So danger can happen to guys and big guys and muscle guys and all that stuff too. It's a dangerous world these days.
Absolutely. I mean, I say, danger, crime doesn't discriminate. It can really happen
Yeah.
anytime, anywhere.
Yeah. And being aware is really important. That's what kind of surprised me about this thing. Like I'm always checking my perimeter. I give dirty looks to anybody who looks like they might be hunting, and sociopaths will hunt. I mean, they're looking for marks. They're looking for people that are, not they're looking at their phone or they're just not paying attention, and they're looking for those sort of people. But yeah. Let's see. So in this book, tell us about some of the things you talk about. One of the terms you have is why lie to survive should be part of your safety toolkit. Talk to us about this.
So, lie to survive is one of the foundations that I teach. It's something that I practiced my entire life. And it's crazy because the way it started was with my parents when I was a young girl, and we played it as a car game. My
Oh,
grandparents lived about 4 hours away. So, we'd hop in the car, and we didn't have cell phones back then or tablets. So, my parents made up games for us to play. And one of those games we called the lying game. And that kind of tied in with the what if game as well, where they would make me the main character of the story, and they would put me in situations like you're at a park and a man approaches you, age old ploy. He has a puppy and he says,
mm,
come help me. Like I lost the other puppy. I really need your help. Would you mind coming with me? And then they would allow me to think through the situation in a controlled and safe environment and ask
oh,
questions.
oh,
And I also learned how to lie my way out. So they would do the what if, then take it a step further to the lying game. So then what would you say? First, it was what would you do? Then what would you say? And I
mm,
realized, at that time, I didn't know what they were really instilling in me, but that
mm,
lying game served throughout my entire life in uncomfortable situations that I wanted to exit. It de-escalated situations and gave me a safe out. And I learned how powerful that was. And people will be like, well, lying, like, come on, that's what you preach, like that's ridiculous. And I'm like, no, listen, there's a strict boundary there. I'm not teaching you to be a liar. I'm not saying
yeah.
go lie to your family and your friends and your coworkers. You lie for your safety, and I will literally die on that hill. So I
Yeah.
needed, a better name for it. And at the time when I started sharing my tips on social media, the lying game didn't necessarily have a ring to it. And I'm a big F1 fan, and we were watching Drive to Survive at the time. And I was like, what rhymes? And one night it clicked. I'm like, well, Drive to Survive is a fun name. Let's just call it Lie to Survive. So Lie to Survive was
Yeah.
born. But it's crazy how many women will write into me or email me and say, like, I didn't understand the power of this, where the society, especially like women, deal with society a lot different. The way we move through the world, where no should be a complete sentence, but it's not. Oftentimes it's challenge accepted. So,
Mm.
lying your way out of a situation by saying, oh, my husband's meeting me, or no, this isn't my home, it just takes care of the situation right in it, and then allows you, like I said, to have that safe out, that safe escape, and empowers you to move through the world with, I have lying as a tool for safety. And it's really cool.
Now, who was it that taught you this? Did you say it was your grandparent or
My parents, my
your
parents.
parents?
So,
You had good parents there.
yeah.
Yeah, and probably more parents should do that, especially with daughters, but even young boy, I mean, everybody really young in these days. I mean, there's, pedophilia seems to be everywhere. I mean,
Mhm.
what was that show I used to watch all the time, Chris Hansen?
Mhm.
And it's just extraordinary when you hear about the stuff that goes on. But I've even me as a big guy who's got a resting bitch face and comes off, I can own a room. I've been in the presence of predators, sociopaths, criminal sociopaths that have, not only done rape but assault in their criminal background. When I checked it later, and it's really dangerous. These people have a violent nature, a dangerous nature, and so yeah, that puppy thing in the park. Um, you know, I like how you say. I believe this is what you say. You don't owe strangers transparency.
Mhm. You don't
You
owe a
know.
str Yeah, exactly. You don't owe a stranger your truth too. I say
Mhm,
that all the time. You don't know somebody until you get to know somebody. You don't know their
mhm,
intentions.
mhm.
So it's better to just make something up on the spot. If they ask you, say you're in an Uber and, they're
Mhm.
dropping you off, is this home? Just immediately, lie.
Ah,
No, no,
yeah.
the answer is no.
Yeah. We had a do you do anything like being careful what you post on social media that gives away your location or maybe the school location of your children and stuff like that?
Oh my gosh, I talk about this all the time. You have to
Oh,
be so
great.
careful what you post
Yeah.
online, especially, I mean, not only just on social media, but on your dating sites, dating apps as well,
Yeah,
because
dating apps as
you
well.
don't realize how much information you might be providing somebody. You could
Mhm.
accidentally show them exactly where you live if your apartment building's in
Mhm.
the background, and they could, crop that picture, do a Google search, and then all of a sudden they know where you live. So you have to be so mindful of what you're sharing out in the world.
Yeah, and when bad stuff happens, the bad stuff happens. I mean, I've picked up one gal pal one time from the hospital who was he was trying to kill her, and
Oh
she
man.
found her spray at the last second as she was passing out. And yeah, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen anything so horrifically done to a human being, and they're still alive. As what I witnessed picking her up at the hospital, and it can go wrong in a minute. And so, yeah, you know, a lot of times, we're all there's a lot of nice people in the world. I think most of us are good, nice people. We care about each other. We don't, I've come to a million people's rescue in danger. My dad kind of taught me. He set that example for me too. But I'm also one of those people that I'm pretty open to everybody, but I also kind of do it to check people. But and so sometimes we mistake that maybe this stranger is another nice person, right? Like you or I, and they might not be. They might be a predator. They might be a sociopath, and they don't see people as people. They see people as objects,
Mhm.
and they don't see them as human either. So yeah, it's a really big deal. And I like how we all want to be nice, but there's some times where you're in a situation where you're not nice, and you got to understand what's going on, and you got to read the room. Like as a man who's a provider and protector, even when I'm on dates, I'm reading the room. And I usually sit my dates in different places or in corners where we can read, where I can watch the room, and where there's safety and stuff. Because you just never know what sort of weird shit's going to go on nowadays. Somebody walk in a place with a gun, or you just never know. And
Mhm.
you just gotta think about these things. And it's not really paranoia.
Mm-mm.
Like I think some people think, well, oh, you're just being paranoid. No, it's just plain simple. Be aware. I do a lot of street shooting, photography, and so I have to be aware of what's around me at any given time. I'm carrying like $15,000 worth of gear, and people come up on me and stuff. I've had lots of crazy transients. They're out of their mind, sadly. And sometimes they take a aggressive approach to me because they think that I'm maybe filming them or doing something, and whatever their paranoia is. So yeah, you really gotta have street smarts and be aware of the world that's around you. And too many of these people, I don't know what you think about this. Too many of these people are like this all day long. They're just walking around in public, and I've even done that and found myself, and I'm like, wait, I'm in some sort of situation here, and I need to be aware. What's your thoughts on that? Where people are just so into their phones and devoid of what's going on around them?
It's a big problem, and I always say
Mhm,
a distracted person is a very easy target, and we walk around and you see it all the time. People are glued to their
mhm,
phones, they're scrolling on social media, they're answering text messages, and they have no idea who and what's around them. And that right there opens you up to be vulnerable, and people don't understand that simply being aware is your best first line of defense at the end of the day and can deter God knows what.
mhm. And you espouse that live aware, not in fear is, I think, one of your axioms.
Exactly. Yeah,
Mhm,
that's the core of everything that I do because you can get paranoid. If you turn on the news, we've all it's all you have to do. And so we know what's out there. And
mhm,
I do believe that the world is mostly good, but you can't be an ostrich and bury your head in the sand. You have to know that evil is out there and evil walks among us. So
mhm,
if you live with the mentality of I'm going to be aware of that, I'm going to educate myself, I'm going to have the layers of defense and the tools and the awareness, I'm going to be able to handle a situation if God forbid it presents itself. But if you're distracted, you have
mhm.
no idea what's coming.
Do you teach people maybe to take defensive classes like karate or jiu-jitsu or some sort of defensive instructions or classes, or How does that fit into what you do there in the book?
Absolutely. I don't preach that often. If
Mhm.
I've been asked that question a ton. I think it's highly beneficial. I think for confidence more than anything. But
Mhm.
the when it boils down to being a woman in the world that we live in, physiologically, men are much bigger and stronger than us.
Yeah.
So I always say hand-to-hand combat is the last resort. You don't want to let anybody close to you. So I always preach, awareness being number one, but then having layers of defense. And I say carry something
Mhm.
that you are comfortable and most importantly confident and trained using. And there's a wide range out there. So
Yeah.
that's what I preach and that's what I believe in and practice
Mhm.
myself.
A lot of times I see, women can usually get locked in fight or flight, like a deer in the headlights mode. And they're trying to be socially nice and, they're not as aggressive and assholes like we are. We're designed to be disagreeable. Women are designed to be agreeable. And so I'll see a lot of times in situations. I have a big 5,000 member dating group, and so we have events where we go to, and people can actually date the old world style or meet up the old world style. And sometimes there's a guy being aggressive, or there's he's got her cornered. I've been cornered by women, so to where I've been blocked into a situation where I can't escape, and we actually have to have security for me for those reasons. um and people that I can just be like, hey, come over here and get me away from this person. But men, like you say, it can be aggressive and everything else. And sometimes I'll see women just become deer in headlights and they'll lock up and stay. And sometimes the best thing for them to do is to move and get out and not do that lockup. I've been known to do that as a man too in predator situations where I've locked down a little bit. But that's kind of the heavy that they hit you with when they're being overly pushy. I don't know. That's just my observations from my angle.
No, absolutely. And that's back to the what if game and being aware and prepared, where
Hmm.
you think through these situations before you find yourself in them. So, I mean, I've had girlfriends where they've been on a date and, they've been asked like a weird question and they freeze. And
You
it wasn't
freeze.
a
Yeah.
dangerous situation, which taught them that I didn't know how to react in this. So I'm like, okay, well, let's play this through. And once you start putting yourself in these situations and you start thinking, okay, what's my exit? I have lie to survive now as a tool.
Yeah.
I don't owe my truth. You give yourself the ability to then know what to do in these situations should you find yourself in one where you're no longer freezing. You have trained yourself. Now I know how to act. I know how to exit. I know how to escape.
Yeah. See, for me, if somebody, comes off or something weird to me, and it clicks with me, I'm gonna change modes and I'm gonna turn to them and be like, "What the fuck did you say?" And right away, that person's gonna be like, "Oh, yeah." But yeah, a lot of women, I'll sometimes see that freezing and at stuff, and then I'll see them locked into a situation. And as a host, I've thrown a lot of parties at my house, 300 or 400 people. I've thrown we throw these events, and I've seen a lot of this where whether it's a man or woman, they'll be overly aggressive in dating and hitting on somebody or whatever. We get a lot of reports too from the dating group. I think we've had some people that have dated some bad people, and we boot them from the group. But yeah, it's a big deal. I don't know if you talk about this on the show, but one of the disappointing things I see on the internet is women saying that all men are bad, all men are aggressive, all men are a danger, men are 100% danger to women all the time. And really, in a lot of these cases, they have. I've been cornered too by women, but they'll corner you into a situation where it's hard to get out, and they're talking your ear off, so you can't cut them off, and you know, and so grabbing another guy. If you grab just a guy, a lot of guys will come to your thing. You can reach out to a guy, you can grab him, or you can point at one and wave him over. Most of us are designed as men to be protectors of women. I mean, we protect the womb. That's kind of what we do with the propagation of the species. There's lots of guys that run in to save women who are being attacked or attempted murder or anything else that goes on in danger to them, that they don't know, and they'll get themselves killed. I mean, that's kind of we're built to defend women. And so I don't know if you espouse that to women, that being afraid of all men, number one, is bad, and number two, you can actually use a lot of men. I've had women, signal to me, "Hey, I'm in distress. Come over here." I've, like I say, my dad taught me that. He's there. I would see he would see women that were in distress or getting beaten or in heavy arguments where clearly the guy was being aggressive, and he would step in. And so, I don't know if you espouse that, but that's just an idea because this narrative that all men are bad and evil and a danger to women is really just wrong. Let's put
It's
it that way.
No, it's 100% wrong, and what's crazy is my dad played that role as well, and I
Mm,
witnessed it growing up, and I've heard stories, and it's really wonderful to know that that is the majority of men. So there is this false, you know, false idea of like all men are bad and we should be, fearful of men. But even when I teach Lie to Survive, one of the tactics that I teach is my husband, my boyfriend, you use a male figure
ah,
and strategically place that because that's immediately intimidating to the other person. So by
yeah,
saying, my husband knows where I am, my husband's on his way, my boyfriend's whatever you want to say, my
yeah,
dad, my brother, by placing that male figure in the situation, in the story, immediately that person's going, oh boy, now there's a threat here.
mhm,
So absolutely. And that's a strategy that women 100% should lean into. I myself,
yeah,
when I was on spring break, I'll never forget this senior year. I was in a situation where there was this really creepy dude. I was 17. He was probably in his 40s and he was following me around a bar in Mexico.
wow,
And I walked over to one of my guy friends and I was like, put your arm around me, like act like you're my boyfriend. And he did. And the guy immediately had nothing to do with me at that point. And the guy
oh,
was like, my friend was 6'6". Like he was this big, strong guy. And I was like, I strategically picked him out and I was like,
yeah,
that's where I'm going. But it's an amazing tool. And you're right. Men are willing to help and most men want to protect women. So
yeah,
knowing that and feeling that that's an option, I always say, like, if you're in a store and you feel that you're being followed, ask to be walked out to your car. If you're
yeah,
in a bar, go to the bouncer, go to the bartender. That's a safety
mm,
tool. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like knowing that and having that knowledge and leaning on men in situations can get you out safely. And absolutely, I mean, I am all
yeah.
for that.
Yeah, I mean, wave a guy over, signal a guy, pretend like you know him. Just wave to him and say, "Hey, come here." And so, if some guy is in your face, being weird and all that, aggressiveness, have the guy come over, and you'll see things change, and you'll see like, "Hey, I'm," you can pretend like you know him, and sometimes guys will play along. I mean, I've had women do that to me. A lot of times when I'm a host at my events, I'm watching the room. I'm making sure that no one's being overly aggressive or weird, making sure people aren't cornered, making sure everyone's happy. And usually you can tell on women's faces when they're scared and they're in that frozen sort of situation where they don't know what to do and the guy's there. This is kind of one of the other things I think that was a tip that you had. Living alone, keep a pair of men's shoes by the door. Is that on the outside of the door or the inside door?
Yeah, right on the outside of the door. I mean, I
There you
lived
go.
alone in many cities and I always pretended like I had a male roommate or lived with, a partner. And it's amazing what that does. Like I would have a workman coming to the house and I don't know this guy, I'm sure
Yeah,
he's a nice individual, but at the end of the day, I have no idea and I'm going to be alone in the
sure.
house with him. So I used to do things crazy like turning the bathroom light on in the shower and closing and locking the door. When the guy
Ah,
came, I would knock on the door and be like, "Hey babe, Joe's here from whatever company." I would like make something up. And then he thought that there was a man in the house.
yeah,
Obviously you have to be strategic because if it's a longer visit than this guy's in the shower for 3 hours, that's not necessarily believable. But having a conversation on the phone could do the same thing. Like, hey, like stop by whenever and make sure that, the person's on speaker. They know what's going on. You've texted them, be like, hey, I'm going to call you and have this conversation to make it, make this workman think that you're coming over soon. It's the illusion that there's this male presence or, someone will be coming. And it just is a layer of protection. It's a really strategic tool to use.
yeah. I know how security and safety is for a lot of women feeling safe.
Mhm.
I think a lot of men really don't understand the depth of it and how far
Mhm.
it goes with you guys at really feeling safe. Because we're aggressible and disagreeable by nature. That's our way. So, calling men in to help or leaving the boots, I love that idea. Or, hey, my boyfriend's in the bathroom right now. If you're at a bar, whatever the case may be. And there's, I know men, I'm a man of men, and 98, 97%, 99% of guys would come to a woman's aid if she asked for help or whatever. She passed a note, a bartender. I mean, just any guy in a bar, really. And most guys, our Captain Savior kicks in, and and we go, oh, well, there's a woman who needs some help here, and it's part of our biology. I mean, the reason we have women and children first get off the boat is because preserving the womb, preserving the propagation of the species. So we have like this natural, like when you guys need help, we have this natural thing that just kicks in and goes, I'll save you. And that's what we want. We don't want women being destroyed by sociopaths and evil people. But I like your vacation notes too. Walk with confidence, strong stride. A distracted person is an easy target. That's one of the things I always try, and that's why I always have that perimeter look. And I always mark people that I've seen you. I know your face. I've seen you. I know your face. I've seen you in your face. I don't like the way you're looking at me. I know you're hunting. I'm not your person. You may want to bugger off. Sometimes I've been aggressive with those because I know someone's in an area that they're up to no good, and I'll just give them a look like you should beat it and get the fuck out of here. And guys, we have ways that we signal that sort of stuff and dominance and alpha male and all that kind of crap that we let people know. And those guys will usually defer because they're looking for weak people. They're not, when they meet a strong person, they're like, oh, I'm out of here. But I've met guys that are taller than me that are sociopaths, and yeah, there's something about our height that we can use. It's a level of aggressiveness. And you got some really successful TikTok channels and Instagram channels. I don't know if you want to promote those while you're here.
Yeah, Dannah_Eve. I That's where I started all of this, which is so crazy because my background's criminology and psychology, and when I was studying, I wanted to go to Quantico. Like I wanted to be a federal agent. That's what I
Mm,
was gonna do, and I ended up, there's a whole story. I kind of get into it in my book, but I came across a professor who was former Secret Service, and 2 weeks before I was set to graduate, we had a conversation that ultimately changed the trajectory of my career. He
mm,
pointed out that I was a very deeply feeling person, which I knew, but seeing it, for him in, a professional sense, he was thinking, he was worried about my mental health long term. When you're a Fed and you have the case files, it's really hard to go home sometimes and compartmentalize that. And I really can't compartmentalize things. And he just
oh,
pointed that out to me. So it made me kind of take a step back. And I was like, you know what? Wow, I didn't really see this.
mm,
My mental health matters, and I do carry things with me. I am deeply
mm,
empathetic, and I have the ability to feel a lot deeper than most people. So he was, I very thankful for him for that. And my book is actually dedicated to Chuck Barth is his name. And I lost him at the tail end of COVID unexpectedly.
oh no.
And ever since I made that pivot away from becoming a federal agent, I had a hole in my heart. And I always had Chuck to kind of talk to about, all of that and stay in that world. And once I lost him, I realized just how much I missed it. And, I
Yeah.
was like, I'm not doing anything with this hard-earned degree. And so a couple of catalysts happened, and one was a mass shooting in my hometown. I had become a mother, so like it changed my perspective of the world a little bit, as
Mm,
well. You have this innocent human being, and you're like, wow, there is, you see the evil through a different lens.
yeah.
And shortly after that, the Idaho 4 happened, and
Oh,
I couldn't get these cases out of my head, and I sat, and it just was killing me. I would sit thinking about them and going over, like all the information and just
mm,
what could have been done here, what could have saved these kids. And I just remember bawling one night to my husband, being like, I have all of this information backed by, by my own life experience, my degree, and, all the people I was lucky enough to cross paths with along the way, like Chuck, and I'm not doing anything with it. So I took to social media, and that was the easiest way in my mind to get the information out there. And I
yeah.
started sharing it. And it's crazy because I never meant for this to happen. I never planned for this. I just took to social media in the hope that I could help one person or prevent a family from experiencing a tragedy, and it snowballed. And it's crazy because I'm now doing what I was meant to do and doing what I'm very good at and passionate about in a way that I would have never imagined. So it's a full circle moment for sure.
I'm glad you are. I mean, there's just more danger now in the world, and there's more desperate people, it seems.
Mhm.
There's more robberies of cars, like in San Francisco. You see that, they just break the windows, steal the luggage. You talk about a lot of different things.
Mhm.
Phishing, online phishing scams at school. I don't know if you talk about this. One, we had a security person on the show about 10 years ago or so. We're really old. And one of the things they were concerned about was protecting their child and, not taking pictures of the school, where they're standing next to their school name out there in the front, and giving instances where someone could, be a predator to children. And one of the things they were doing was turning off on most cameras, your exfil will give away your exif file. EXIF is a file that is part of the data of your photo. And in that photo, a lot of people have location turned on. Usually when you sign up with your phone, do you want location turned on? And they turn on location. Well, any smart predator can look at a photo if he can get a hold of if the exfil data is on there. I'm not sure if Facebook maintains the exfil data, but if they can find the photo, they can get your location from that exfil data. And so that's a danger as well. You just have to think about all these things because it's a crazy world we live in. Let me ask you this: one of the biggest things that I see, I'm writing a book right now on dating, and with my big dating groups, is not a lot of this massiveness of hookup culture. Dating has just become hookup culture. So you're probably familiar with what goes on there. But one of the problems I see is I have huge what we call Chad groups, and these Chad groups are the Chads that all the women are frequenting. Basically, you have 99% of women dating the top 1% of men, or at least the good-looking steroid boys. And it's really interesting to me. There is little to no safety checks that women are doing when they go see these guys. I mean, the conversation goes like this: "Hi, you're really hot. Can I come over tonight and bang you?" Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, the guy says, and that's it. They're not checking any crime backgrounds, and some of the complaints we've seen in the marketplace is there's a couple of violent Chads out there. I mean, these guys are on steroids. I'm not throwing everybody's on steroids into having an anger issue management, but there's some of them that we had reports of where they had to go to the police for assault and stuff. So I don't know if you touch on that, but if you don't, I mean, just a suggestion that they really should check these guys out.
Oh my gosh. No, you know what? I have a whole chapter in my book on dating
Do you?
safety because
All right.
it's crazy. It's crazy what, some women are willing to do and put
Oh yeah.
themselves in these situations. And
Huh?
something that I always preach is, one, do your homework, like check this person out. If you've
Yeah.
met somebody online, you got to check them out. And something else that I always talk about is never isolate yourself with somebody that you just met. So you want to go meet
Mhm.
somebody on a first date, go somewhere like a bar or a restaurant.
Public,
It's
yeah.
well lit, public, populated,
Mhm.
you never want to go on a hike or to their apartment. You
Mhm.
also want to be strategic where you don't want to let anybody know where you live. So even if they're like, let me pick you up on the first date, you're like, no, thanks, I'm coming from work. I'll meet you there. And you don't give somebody the ability to have your home address. And it's the same thing going home. I had when I was in the dating world, I had a guy he was being, very sweet and very kind, but I didn't know this person. I had just met him and he was like,
Mhm.
let's share an Uber home. And I was like, absolutely not. In my head, I'm like, no, I'm basically showing you exactly where to find me. And it's just being strategic and getting to know somebody and not, putting yourself in a dangerous situation.
Yeah.
And the dating world is crazy. Something else that I talk about all the time, and it's an easy thing to do. If you are interested in somebody, do a FaceTime date first. Do a vibe check. Make sure that the person is who they say they are. Make sure everything checks out. And make sure that most importantly, they make you feel safe and comfortable so that
Yeah.
you're willing to then be like, yeah, let's do dinner. So the hookup culture is something that, you got to be so careful. Even, I'm not prudish or like saying like, don't have a one night stand, don't do this. But from a safety point of view, if you go home with somebody at the end of the night and you're under the influence where you don't have a clear, your head on your shoulders and you're not thinking clearly and you're going to this person's apartment or home or whatever, you are opening yourself up to danger. Odds are, most people, like, you're going to come across somebody and it's just going to be a fun night. Yep, absolutely. But the evil is out there. So opening that door is not a risk you should take. That's my approach.
There you go.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you cover this part, but one of the things that women think they're being safe is they have these groups called "Are We Dating the Same Guy?"
Oh my God.
And I have the one side of dating, the normal side of dating, and then I have the chat groups. So I get to see all the messages. I get to hear about the action. I mean, these guys are going through 30, 60 women a month, and they're jacked up on roids, so they have ways of, doing 2 to 3 girls a day. And it's just insane, the messages that I see from women just throwing themselves at them. I mean, on top of that, they usually ask not to wear condoms. And so we have like an 800% sexual disease STD thing going on right now, 800% explosion of it across the nation. But it turns out that these groups that are supposed to be safe for women, the Are We Dating the Same Guys, are just Chad directories. Like literally, the girls that are in those groups will find the chat that they like, and they'll have like, oh, this guy's a real asshole, he's born, whatever, yada yada yada. They will call up the Chad and send him screenshots and read that and then go sleep with him. It's actually a chat directory rather than a safety directory. It's so insane to be on the other side and see this whole thing. So I don't know if you ever broach that with your audience, but some ideas if you want.
Oh my gosh. And thank you for sharing that because, I've been out of the dating world, thank God, after hearing this for so long. But my gosh, that's wild. That is insane.
Yeah. The groups, they have the groups nationwide. Are we dating the same guy locally? And so they'll post a guy, and some girl will be like, oh, he did this, and a lot of times it's not essay or anything violent. It's just she's angry because he didn't call her back or something, or she gave him sex and was hoping it would turn a relationship. And yeah, they're literally just Chad directories. And I've had women in my group go, no, this is for safety, Chris. No, it's for safety. And I'm like, no, I'm seeing your messages to the Chads right now. And yeah, I don't see any safety here.
Honestly, I have to like that's like a case study. That's like fascinating to me because that blows my mind. And what I would say to all of that is like, ladies, let's do better. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's do better here.
Because there are guys I banned a ton of guys out of my group because they're either aggressive or we've had reports of abuse, and even if they don't take it to the level of turning it into a thing, I just kick the person and I take a good look at them, and I kind of am good at assessing people. But there you go. So Dana, anything more we need to know about the book before we head out?
No, I mean, first off, thank you so much for having me. My hope for this book is that after women read this book, they just feel empowered to move through the world in, a confident way. And they know that they have the power to live their life, but live their life with a street smart, head on their shoulders. And something funny too, this book was originally going to be called Street Smarts University because I wanted to kind of play into like, once you read this book, you're going to have a degree in street smarts. We ended up dropping university because we didn't want it to make it seem like it was only for college kids, but that's really what it is. You read this book, the information, you're going to retain it. It's easily digestible, and you're going to feel so empowered with the way that you move through the world. And that's my hope. And I hope every woman reads this book.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, and it's good for men too. I mean,
absolutely.
I've had women assault me. I've had women break into my home. I've had all sorts of wild shit go on with the chicks. But I don't know. I guess I really drive them crazy. What can I say? But no, some of the things I see in the dating world with hookup culture is really disturbing. I don't see any security going on. I mean, sometimes they're coming over within an hour, so I doubt anybody's checking the, I don't know if you saw this, but there was a guy recently. He's a really good looking guy. Super, he's one of those guys, right?
Okay.
And I think he's a male model too, or if he's not, he should be. And he made up this post just to see what would happen. He made up a post with his picture on like Tinder or something, but he admitted that he had SA charges and abused women, and it kind of wrote an aggressive post. He was flooded with women throwing themselves at him, even though he had admitted in the post that he had an SA charges and background and stuff like that. And that was really shocking. And then when I saw what's going on with the Chads and hookup culture, I went, Jesus, this is crazy, man. It seems like we're throwing all sorts of safety out the window to some of this stuff. So anyway,
very scary.
Thank you, Dana, and just giving you some ideas. I'm an idea man. So yeah, there you go. But I love what you're doing. I'll share our book with the dating group and all that good stuff too as well, because we want women to be safe.
Please do.
We like women. We really do. We want you guys to be safe and have babies that you want, not somebody else's. Anyway, thanks, Dannah, for coming on the show. Give us your .coms and final pitch out wherever people can find you. Where's on the internet?
So on social, Dannah_Eve, DANNAH_EVE, and DannahEve.com.
There you go. Thank you, Dannah, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. And I love your book. I should have been reading that when I did my surgery a month ago.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And thanks, Jonas, for tuning in. Order up her book wherever fine books are sold. It's on pre-order right now. February 3rd, 2026. It's coming out. Street Smarts. Trust your instincts. Outsmart danger and stay safe in a world that isn't. And boy, have we sure found that out lately. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, facebook.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss, all those crazy places. The net. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the most amazing, intelligent podcast ever made to improve your brain and your life. Warning, consuming too much of the Chris Voss Show podcast can lead to people thinking you're smarter, younger, and irresistible sexy. Consume in regularly moderated amounts. Consult a doctor for any resulting brain bleed.